Alrighty, welcome back to Shut Up and Ball. We are back, John and I, for the week 15. I almost said 16. Week 15 reactions. A lot of games got delayed. A lot of very well got some football spread out. So we're just gonna dive right into things. Starting with the Thursday nighter. Kansas City Chiefs beat the LA Chargers 34-28. Kind of a wild game. Interested to hear what you have to say on this one, John.
Kansas City, they came out and they beat the Chargers defense exactly the way that the Chargers are supposed to be stopping them. The Kansas City offense, the way that they've been stopped this year is by limiting Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. And the Chargers were not able to do that in this game. They were able to do it for the most part the first time they played, but this time they weren't. A lot of it was after the catch too. That was the crazy part, is that it was just downfield. Once the playmakers got the ball, they got big gains after that. And you do that, you're allowing the Chiefs to get back into the offense that has, turned them into a team that people think could be a dynasty. So yeah, the Chiefs, they just got back to doing what people typically expect them to do. And on the Chargers side, Justin Herbert and the offense, they really did all they could. There was a few missed opportunities. Was it this game where their coach went for it on fourth down a few times?
It was eight. I'm gonna go with, but yeah, they 3 times they lost the ball.
Yeah.
Or one, two, twice lost it on downs. They did fumble it basically at the Kansas City one as well.
Yeah, there's been a lot of coaches getting a lot of flack for fourth down and 2-point conversions, all this stuff. We'll get into one of those later, but they had their opportunities. It is what it is, but ultimately, to me, putting up 28 points, allowing Kansas City to score 34. If you let Kansas City get into the 30s, they're tough to beat. So they absolutely had their opportunities to go out there and outscore them. I honestly, I can't remember the coaching decision, so I'll let you take it away on that spot when it comes to their ability to outscore them. But yeah, I just felt like defensively, I was not really impressed with what the Chargers did with a defensive-minded head coach.
Yeah. And although the concerns on defense and criticism is very fair, basically boils down to who is it? I forgot, some other team. I think it was Denver. I forgot what other team did this, but like you mentioned, just 3 times they were within a field goal range. Didn't even take a three. So sorry, it was 3 times they lost the ball on downs, and they fumbled at the 1-yard line, at the goal line, basically for Kansas City. Okay, fumble, can't really, sometimes that's just, but the 3 other times, first drive of the game, after a great kick return, and once again, I know you're at the 1, but take the points. And once again, they said it again on the broadcast. It was like, oh, need touchdowns to beat Kansas City, but not this year. Like we've mentioned before, and this is Kansas City team, at least up until this game, lean more on their defense. Granted, the offense kind of came alive this game, but also, too, Chargers, like I said, already kind of helped them. Like I mentioned, first drive of the game, didn't convert on downs, lost the ball there. Kansas City drives for a touchdown. Next possession, interception, and then Kansas City gets a field goal. All of a sudden, you're down 10-0, and Kansas City's offense really hasn't been getting going, and they didn't score the rest of the half. And then, okay, they get a drive in the second half, get a field goal out of it, and then you do it again. Turn the ball over on downs, go for it on a 4th and 2 at the 28. Just take the 3. Especially at that point, the game was 14-13. Make it at least more of it than a touchdown game. And then the Kansas City, it was just a messy game. Chargers turned the ball over a lot. Kansas City had their share too, but because the Chargers were sloppy, turned the ball over a lot, it just kept Kansas City in striking distance. And as we saw in overtime, and like you mentioned, a lot of these, the more opportunities you give them, there's more chances that Tyreek Hill or Travis Kelce are going to break along, just break one of those 10, 15-yard plays if you're playing prevent defense. And it's just a matter of time. And that's what happened, really. At overtime, there with Travis Kelce at the end, it was just only so much you can do with all those playmakers. And even Mahomes, too, he's going to make plays the more opportunities you give him. So that's where I was really disappointed with, I almost said San Diego again, Los Angeles. Just, it was just, they had the turnover bug. And they also compiled on top of that with just forcing the trying to go for it on fourth down. So those are my main. That's my main gripe with the Chargers. Otherwise, like you mentioned, I mean, they move the ball pretty well, and I am a little upset with their defense, but too, their defense were put in some tough spots here and there. So I think that's all. That's about all I have there. I don't know if you had anything else to add.
That's it.
All right, so that was Chiefs Chargers. Chiefs, I think now are back on top of the AFC after this crazy weekend, and that's also because of the Saturday game, the only Saturday game it turned out to be due to COVID, which was the Colts beating the Patriots 27-17. Uh, I mean, they really just seemed to ride Jonathan Taylor this game. John, what are your thoughts?
Uh, I mean, Jonathan Taylor, like I said it last year, Derrick Henry, I felt like the guy should have been the MVP, and that's no disrespect to the quarterbacks, but it just seems like, I don't know, to me, a running back being able to do what these guys are doing, it just blows my mind in the way the league is played today. And Jonathan Taylor is doing exactly what Derrick Henry did last year. I don't know the on pace stats of like Taylor this at this point of the year compared to Henry at this point of the year last time. That'd be interesting to see, but I mean, he's just going crazy, and the fact that he was able to do it against Bill Belichick is even more impressive because Bill is known for taking away your number one option and not allowing you to use it to beat him. And we've seen him do that throughout the year. And for the last basically almost 3 months, the Patriots have looked amazing. They looked unbeatable, and the Red Hot Colts came in and they did exactly what we knew they were going to do, and they won the game. So the Colts are starting to look scary. I mean, they got a defense. They can force turnovers. I think they're tied with Dallas for first in the league when it comes to forced turnovers. They can stop the run really well. They got DeForest Buckner and Darius Leonard, who are just stars on that defense. Kenny Moore is really blowing up this year. And then on offense, I mean, that offensive line and that run game, it's tough to beat, especially when they're able to beat a team like New England, only completing 5 passes. Like that's Colts are looking scary.
Yeah, I love that they've adopted the mindset when we're going to ride Jonathan Taylor and our offensive line, and also it's not like, I mean, granted, not saying Derrick Henry wasn't efficient, but to give Jonathan Taylor credit as well, he averaging about 5.4 yards per carry, so it's not like he's getting forced. I mean, he is getting force fed, but not not getting an egregious amount of work there, and yeah, I mean, I found a good formula. Carson Wentz only threw 12 times, did throw a pick, but yeah, like you mentioned, I mean, riding Jonathan Taylor, then maybe Carson Wentz makes a play or two if you need to. We all know he's capable of that. It's just we always get scared if he does it too much because he's bound to make a mistake. Um, but yeah, and then on the flip side, it was DeForest Buckner was just disruptive all game. He did pose a lot of problems for New England. I mean, they couldn't get the run game really going at all, and I know that people are kind of already hitting on Mac Jones through 2 bad picks, unexcusable. But gotta remember, I mean, he's still a rookie, and it was bound to kind of show up those mistakes. And if I'm Bill Belichick, obviously I wanted to win this game, but better to make those kind of mistakes, get that kind of stuff out now, iron it out before the playoffs. But yeah, still a very tough loss for New England because, like we mentioned, no longer the 1 seed, and the Colts kind of rising up, like you mentioned. Right now, the secondary is solid, but we'll see in the playoffs if they can hold up this formula. I think offensively, the formula will be fine. I'm still concerned long term about the secondary and the defense, but if they can keep just holding on to leads, that's basically what they did this game. Get ahead, let their pass rushers just go after guys, then they're a tough team to beat. So, yeah, great win for the Colts. I was certainly shocked about this one. I was actually watching a movie when this game was occurring, so I had to rewatch it afterwards. But very shocked that they managed to beat him by 10. I thought it'd be more of a 1-possession game. So good for them, and thank you, Jonathan Taylor, too, because I had him in fantasy, and that big touchdown in the end really saved me, and probably many others. So, anyways, now we go to the Sunday games. We're going to start off with Bills-Panthers. Buffalo Bills beat the Panthers 31-14. Kind of went not really shocked. John, what were your thoughts in regards to what occurred here?
I don't know. I thought the Panthers might be a little more competitive in this one, especially defensively, just because They match up pretty well. I mean, like their defense isn't as good as it was to start the year, but I think they sort of match up pretty well with the style that Buffalo plays. But Buffalo, they just got back to rolling. I think it helps that Devin Singletary provided them a run game here. He got 86 yards on the ground. It wasn't amazing, but they gave it to him 22 times. That's something that we haven't seen in a lot of these previous games. And so because they were able to be a little more balanced, Josh Allen did not have to throw like 50 times in this one for them to put up a lot of points. So yeah, I mean it was a good win for the Bills. Also helps that Cam had that interception and gave the Bills I think it was pick six, right?
Trying to look it up right now.
I'm trying to find where it was in the game too.
It was late.
It was late in the game. Yeah.
It wasn't a pick six. No, it was
Never
a pick,
mind.
and then they just needed it out from there.
Maybe I'm confusing it with the week before where Cam threw a pick six. I think against the Falcons.
Yeah,
anyway,
he did throw a pick six. Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
I mean, it just helps that the Panthers offensively really weren't able to do much. I mean, Cam threw the ball 38 times and only had 156 yards. So, you'd think that the Bills defense without Tre'Davious White, maybe there's some holes there, but they did really good in this one.
Yeah. Really, it was just the Bills' defense. I mean, Josh Allen and the offense were pretty good. Still want to see more, not just in terms of being more patient with the run, but building off of that. But nonetheless, it was against the Panthers, so I don't think they're really trying to reinvent the wheel. The Bills and Josh Allen still dealing with that. I think was it a foot injury, right? He had last week.
Yeah.
So maybe they didn't want him doing a lot of the play action stuff. Anyways, rolling out. Yeah, I mean, it's just the story of Carolina this season is just a handicap by their quarterback play. I'm not sure if I've already mentioned this, but I still don't know why Matt Rule's really on this hot seat. Like, he's only in year 2, and I think the roster is pretty good. It's just a young roster, a young defense, trying to find a quarterback on offense. Christian McCaffrey hasn't been healthy. He wasn't healthy last year either, right? He was in and out. So
yeah, he only played I think
3 or
8
4
games total since Matt Rule has been hired.
Yeah, so I mean, already missing the highest paid, probably best player on the team for most of his tenure as well. So I really don't understand that flack, and I hope he doesn't get fired because I think he's done a pretty good job with what he's had. Done a great job rebuilding this team, and yeah, I just want to put that out there because I think I like what I'm seeing at Carolina. Just need to get a quarterback. Maybe, and obviously now in hindsight, maybe should have kept Teddy, seeing that it hasn't worked out well since then. With Darnold and such, but yeah, there'll be quarterbacks in the market, and I'm not sure their cap space, but I don't imagine that they're strapped for cash. So I think that's fixable via that or the draft. I'm sure they can do something there. So not panicking about Carolina long term. Obviously, they're probably out of the picture, but critical win for Buffalo though, as they do stay up in that mosh pit for the AFC playoffs. So good win for them. They took care of business there. Another team that kind of took care of business is Miami Dolphins. They beat the Jets 31-24. Any thoughts on this one, John?
I mean, not really.
Yeah.
It is what it is. It was surprising at halftime that Miami was down, but other than that, not really surprising.
Yeah. Only surprising, Duke Johnson had a great game. I didn't know he was in the league. One of those things, oh, Duke Johnson's still around. Oh, yeah, you find out he just got signed last week off the practice squad, and he goes off for this. And I feel like Jets fans are really, we've been wanting our running backs. I mean, Michael Carter's been solid, but he's banged up. And even then, I mean, I know I don't want to be, okay, I'm going to be deemed a Tua hater regardless, but early in the game, Tua kind of put them behind the 8 ball a little bit. Granted, they leaned on the run game, made some plays, and also the second half, that Miami defense, I mean, I felt so bad for Zach Wilson because he just couldn't be right on most of those blitzes. He was trying to make the checks, but it's Brian Flores in the game. They typically don't do the same blitz, send the same guys, they always mix it up. Hard to be right in those situations, and Zach was often not right as he was sacked 6 times this game. So, yeah, not much on that one else to add. Good win for Miami. Jets, they're far away, as we all know. But going to one of the surprises of the weekend, the Detroit Lions beat the Arizona Cardinals 30-12. this is a game I didn't watch live at all, but I had to rewatch it, the other day because I was like, I need to know what happened here. So, John, what were your thoughts on this shocking upset?
Uh, I don't want to be one of those people that like jumps on Cliff Kingsbury because they lost one game, and so I say this halfway as a joke, but halfway serious because I am pretty critical of Cliff Kingsbury. And I heard, I'm not. It wasn't my original statement. I heard this from someone else, but they were saying, why are people surprised that Cliff would choke a game to Detroit? He couldn't beat like Iowa State with Patrick Mahomes when he was a college coach. So why would he beat Detroit with Kyler Murray in the NFL? And I just thought it was kind of funny. But anyway, I mean, Cliff in his post-game interview, he said it exactly how it needed to be said. They were outcoached. They were outplayed. The other team was just better. They were more well prepared. They came to play, and the Cardinals didn't. And that's really all you can say about this one. I think the Cardinals are still a better team. I think you play that game 9 times out of 10, the Cardinals probably win. But that's the NFL. Any given Sunday, the Lions came out, they played. The Cardinals were not ready for that game, and the Lions, they won. Shout out to Jared Goff, had a really good game. I mean, the Lions offense put up 30 points. I don't know if that's even happened on the entire year. Maybe they did in that Niners game where they had like the crazy comeback, but outside of that, I mean, really they haven't. And Jared Goff, 21 to 26, 216 yards, 3 touchdowns. Craig Reynolds, who the heck is this guy? Comes out of nowhere the last few weeks, 112 yards on the ground. And their defense, they held Arizona to 12 points. So shout out the Lions. That was a big win for them and their fans. I'm sure like their locker room was super hyped. Seems like everybody like loves Dan Campbell, and the feel good stories, some of these wins. And for the Cardinals, that is brutal for seeding.
Yeah, I believe they fell to after the results of the week, or even Sunday, they fell to 3. They went from 1 to 3.
But now they're actually fourth.
Fourth? Okay, I may be wrong.
Because now
the Rams
Dallas
won.
and Tampa.
Dallas,
no,
sorry.
It was because then Tampa lost that night.
Tampa.
So them Dallas and Tampa all tied.
Forgot Dallas is up there. You sent me that picture about Dallas being up there.
Yeah.
But yeah, in regards to Detroit, like kind of, I want to call them like Philadelphia light, like building a really good O line. We know that Taylor Decker at tackle, and then why am I forgetting his
Penei
Sewell? Right tackle. I believe he's playing right tackle if I remember correctly. Frank Ragnow is a solid center, so they have a good base there. On the other side, like we mentioned, I know we don't talk much Lions, but Dan Campbell's found a bunch of good, just solid defensive linemen via the draft for agency, and they just don't really get pushed around. So good base there, and then okay players, and Amon-Ra St. Brown's been slowly coming along as a rookie. Like, as much as we all criticize Jared Goff, he's a solid quarterback. He's just not a great one. So there are pieces there in Detroit, and then I think I mentioned this earlier in the year. Detroit, they always have the right idea of how to win the game. They just don't have the talent. And also in regards to the Cardinals, they just couldn't. I mean, bad combination of Kyler. Just I want to say just not. I don't want to say 100%, but maybe because guys have been in and out. He's been in and out, just on an off day. Rhythm-wise, throwing-wise, missed some throws. I know people want to say no D-Hop, which obviously doesn't help, but he's been in and out too in the lineup. So we'll see. Hopefully for Arizona, this is just a bump in the road. But, I mean, obviously as a Packer fan, I was very happy because we got the 1 seed again. But, we'll have to see if this is a concern because I've also mentioned I'm a little worried about their size on defense. They're more built on speed and why am I blanking on the DC's name? Vance Joseph doing some creative stuff. But it seemed like this game, Detroit said, we don't care about your creative stuff. We're just going to mash it down your face because our buy-in's bigger than you. And it worked out. So we'll see if this is a concern going forward. But great win for Detroit. Certainly one that Dan Campbell can put at the top of his resume thus far. So something to believe in, Lions fans. Go ahead.
Also, I was just going to say, obviously for Arizona, this affects seeding. They fell from, 1 or 2 all the way down to 4. Yeah. This also affects the draft, in which the Detroit Lions went from, I think, the first overall pick now to 3rd behind Jacksonville and the Texans, I think.
Which, I mean, obviously it seems bad, but who knows? I mean, at the end of the day, like, we look back at all the drafts. It doesn't matter if you get the first pick. Sometimes the first pick isn't good. Sometimes the second pick. Sometimes the first. It's not until like the 10th pick that's the best player. I mean, Aaron Donald was drafted at 13.
Yeah. This year, there's no like, Andrew Luck either. There's no Miles Garrett. Like, there's studs, but there's not like this one guy that everybody's tanking for.
Yeah, especially quarterback wise. Quarterback wise
Yeah.
seems to be all over the place. Same thing wide receiver. Maybe there's the two DNs that everyone's talking about, but even then, it's like some people have the Oregon kid over Thibodeau over the Michigan kid, and then it's a mess. We'll probably clear up during draft season. But anyways, shout out to Detroit fans. You got an early Christmas gift there. So that is that. But now going to your division, mentioned the Cowboys. I think they're now at the 2 seed, and that's because they beat the New York Giants 21-6. Took care of business. I'm definitely sure you watched this game, so inform me as to what happened here.
I mean, they've looked the exact same like the last month. It's their defense plays really well. They caused turnovers. They had 4 turnovers forced in this game. I think that's 3 straight games in which they forced 4 turnovers. And the offense, they're okay. I mean, it was nice to see the run game got going a little bit. Tony Pollard had 74 yards. Zeke had 52. So they had, almost 130 on the ground. So that was nice. Um, but other than that, I mean, not a lot impressive offensively. CD Lamb is starting to concern me. I think he's top 5 in the league in drops. Sort of something that's going under the radar, but he's dropping a lot of passes. But overall, yeah, I mean, pretty run-of-the-mill Dallas game for the last month. Wish the offense was sort of back and grooving, but I mean, in the playoffs, especially if you got to go through Lambeau, the one thing that's going to travel and weather like that is going to be defense in a run game. So, maybe this is the kind of style of football they need to win, but you're not going to be playing Mike Glennon every week once you get to the playoffs. So, still a bit concerned because they won, but it's not necessarily the style points that you would love to see them getting in this kind of game. And for anyone who's concerned or confused, by the way, the reason the Cowboys are the 2nd seed above the Buccaneers who beat them earlier in the year, there's a 3-way tie with the Cardinals. And in that, the first tiebreaker goes to conference record. The Cowboys only have 1 loss in the entire conference. That was to the Buccaneers. All 3 of their other losses were to AFC opponents, which is why they are the 2nd seed above a team who beat them. So if there becomes a 2-way tie and it's just them and Tampa, Tampa will go above them. But as long as there's a 3-way tie or more, Dallas technically will win that, for the rest of the year. So, I mean, unless they collapse over these last few games. So, like, if Green Bay were theoretically to lose this next game and then all the rest of the teams went out, then technically Dallas would be the 1st seed, which I'm hoping for, but probably won't happen. Anyway.
Who knows? But anyways, so that is the Dallas. I'm not going to comment more. I saw the highlights. You really hit it all. Obviously, something to see is the offense, but CD could chalk it up to maybe sophomore slump. It's a longer season too. I mean, we're already seeing the injuries and just the COVID issues stack up. So there's a lot of things going on for an NFL locker room. So, but going to the AFC, speaking of seedings and all that, Tennessee Titans, they lose to the Pittsburgh Steelers 19-13. It's a game where I'll just go first real quick, by the way. A game where you look at the numbers and you wonder how Tennessee lost. And then, I hate to be this way, but then you look at the turnovers and kind of see why. And some of them just kind of fluky. Like, there's the one with the tight end, I forgot his name, but literally, like, he was trying to secure it and popped it up and went right into a Steelers player's hand. I think that also happened to Ferkser early in the game, if I remember correct. I'll be honest, like, I won't rewatch this game, but I was kind of I was not enjoying the rewatch, so my focus may not fully been on it. And then lose Julio Jones early in this game, which I don't want to be mean, but not really a shocker. He's been dealing with injuries this whole year and last year. And Pittsburgh just did Pittsburgh things, I would say. Just made it ugly, kept it, stayed around. Big Ben made a throw or two that he had to, even though he's been pretty bad. Najee Harris couldn't get going. But, yeah, I mean, that's really my thoughts. Tennessee just blowing opportunities / turnovers, and just, I mean, their defense can only do so much. But anything else to add or anything in regards to this game?
No, not really. I mean, the Titans, this is sort of how they've looked since the Derrick Henry injury. They need their defense to really step up and win them games. The defense did all right in this one, but I feel like the Titans in a game like this, like they need like a defensive touchdown or something to like really get them going.
Or just
And
AJ
they,
Brown. They're missing a playmaker. They're at
yeah,
this point. Like look at their box score. Name those any of those receivers or players that really excite you. I mean, none really.
yeah. I mean, when you're third and fourth, when three of your top six leading receivers are running backs, that probably just shows, where you stand when it comes to your receiving room. So yeah, in a defensive game, you're probably going to take Pittsburgh, honestly, against most teams in the league, just because Pittsburgh's scrappy. They find ways to win these ones. That's what they did here. They didn't really do much offensively either. I mean, Najee Harris had 18 yards rushing. They had 35 as a team. Passing wise, Big Ben had 148 passing yards. So like they didn't really move the ball well. It was just like you said, turnovers, gave them easy field position. They got field goals. And yeah, I mean that's the game.
It's like you said earlier. It's just not winning. Just winning ugly. That's really all it is and Pittsburgh's embraced that. I mean, if there's anyone that when I think winning ugly, I think Pittsburgh, anyways, especially in recent years. So good one for them. They still just stay close enough on the conversation somehow, some way in this playoff race. But gonna quickly go over this game. This other game, next one, divisional game. Houston Texans beat the Jacksonville Jaguars 30-16. Yeah. So, any thoughts in regards to this one, John?
I mean, Brandon Cooks killed them. Texans just looked better. I don't really have much else to say except for I'm glad James Robinson's back in the fold. That was something that I sort of felt like would happen without Urban Meyer there, and it absolutely did. And obviously, that doesn't mean much for them this year, but it bodes well for them in the future because James Robinson is very talented.
Yeah. I don't have much to say else except really missing maybe a receiver or just something for Trevor Lawrence other than James Robinson. Also, just I think we can kind of see this offense is simplistic Jaguars offense. If you ever watch it, just there's not a lot of creativity or, like I said, rhythm or flow or rhyme or reason or not a solid game plan. It's just more like we're gonna do what we're gonna do and hope it beats you. But when you're not that talented of a roster, even against the Texans, this is why the NFL is the NFL. Even against the Texans, you're not gonna have much success. So, yeah, I guess a good win for the Texans, I guess, and Jacksonville back to getting another number one draft pick. Like, how many more do y'all need to get before you turn around? Who knows? Who knows? So, but keeping it in the AFC, Cincinnati Bengals, they beat the Denver Broncos 15-10. Kind of an ugly slugfest here. Unfortunately, Teddy got hurt in this game. Luckily, he's okay now. What were your thoughts on this one?
Another ugly game. I mean, shout out Tyler Boyd. He had a really good game. Has not a very good year so far, but he was kind of the only thing that was working for Cincinnati. On the other side, for the Broncos, I mean, they also just really couldn't do a whole lot. I think, and I don't want to sound like a broken record player, but like, let's just get Javonte Williams more touches. That's all I'm saying. He averaged almost 5 yards a carry. I mean, Melvin Gordon, no slouch. He got 15 carries in this one as well, but he averaged like 3.5 yards per carry. I'm just saying maybe this is a sort of ugly game where you give Javonte 25, 30 touches, let him be the workhorse, and you see some things happen because he's sort of the way he runs reminds me of AJ Dillon, to where they just kind of like they're not afraid of contact and they just keep fighting for yards and they find those extra yards every time they can. And in an ugly game like this, like that's what you need. So I wish Javonte would get more touches. But the Broncos seem dead set on pretty much an even split.
Yeah. I think I'm very close to completely abandoning all hope for Drew Lock. I mean, he had a touchdown this game, but just bad, not great decisions. Then obviously got strip sacked. It's just not looking good for Drew Lock. I mean, I think his time in Denver, he needs to leave Denver. Like I said earlier in the season, I think he maybe needs to go be a backup. And even then, that's scary because a lot of teams they want their backup to be conservative, manage the game, and too many times Drew Lock tries to push the envelope when he really isn't there yet and not reliable enough to do so. So, and on the other side, I do give credit to the Bengals. They were trying to be patient with the run. Joe Burrow really took what the defense gave him. Was a concern to both of ours was, Denver's secondary matched up pretty well with them. Very good secondary. So not really surprised that it was kind of tough sledding for Joe Burrow and the gang, especially I believe this was at Denver. So let me double check. Yeah, it was at Denver. So never an easy place to play, especially in early December. So critical win though for the Bengals. As like I mentioned, 8-6. You're probably going to need at least 9, maybe 10 wins in the AFC to make sure you get a playoff spot. 9 might not even be enough. So we'll see how that goes. And obviously for Denver, just tough, brutal loss because now you fall to 7-7 and really on the outside looking in. But now going back to the NFC for this, for San Francisco 49ers, they beat the Atlanta Falcons 31-14. What were your thoughts on this game, John?
Sorry, I'm pulling up the stats real quick because I don't want to be wrong
you're
about
good.
this one. I got to watch a bit of this game through Red Zone, so I wasn't watching like the whole thing, but I was seeing like the highlights throughout it, and all I could think the whole time was, man, the Niners are just crushing Matt Ryan. I couldn't remember exactly how many sacks they got, so I'm
They
trying
got
to pull it
3.
up. 3 sacks. So I mean, there's that, but also there was like one play where Matt Ryan like scrambled for a yard but got destroyed. Like Matt Ryan was just kind of under siege the whole time. His offensive line wasn't holding up. Doesn't have great offensive weapons. Cordell Patterson just really had a tough game this week. 11 carries for 18 yards. The Niners, they just controlled the line of scrimmage, and I mean that's one of those football cliches that you control the line of scrimmage, you're probably going to win, and that's what happened in this one.
Yeah. Like I mentioned, I don't mean to I'll give myself a little pat on the back, but Niners defense, good front, just a good front four. And then you still have fast linebackers and Fred Warner. So I imagine it was tough to even have plays or get Cordero Patterson going, and he's really their only weapon on offense. And on the other side, this is an Atlanta team that's still kind of in that Seattle type defense, or at least have the personnel to. So built on speed, but against the 49ers, you need big people, or else Kyle Shanahan's going to do whatever he wants in the run game, like John mentioned, and that's what he did. Jeff Wilson had a great game. Deebo had some moments too, and whenever they wanted to, they could build off the run and hit them with a play action pass this game. So yeah, not much great analysis needed, but that's all. It was kind of a drubbing. It was 31-13, obviously, and San Francisco never really worried about them this entire game, about losing it. So good win for them. They stay ahead in the race. Sorry, curious being so. But now going to the final Sunday afternoon game. Shockingly, one of the more exciting ones. My Green Bay Packers beat the Baltimore Ravens 31-30. And throw it to you, John. What were your thoughts on this game? And I guess the 2-point conversion, since did we talk about the 2-point conversion?
We did.
We did.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're on the same page. Nonetheless, you don't have to talk about that if you don't want to, but what are your thoughts on this one?
I do, because there's been a lot of conversation on like the media this week about that call, and just a lot of different calls like that throughout the year, because this is the second week in a row I believe the Ravens have done this. Anyway, for the game, it was really exciting, really entertaining. It was a battle that was kind of surprising. Like, you figured the Packers would be able to put up points, but the Ravens on the other end were able to put up a lot of points, especially in the second half. They pulled out some heroics and were able to get things done and make it close. That's sort of my analysis of the game. I want to talk specifically about the 2-point conversion try, because I've heard a lot of people talk about it, and a lot of controversial opinions on if he should have done it. First off, the Ravens are like sort of like the darlings of the analytics community. Like, they're the team that like pushes the boundaries when it comes to going for it on fourth down, and all this kind of stuff that the analytics community loves. I have no idea what the analytics say about that play call, so I'm not going to pretend like I do, or say that was backed by analytics, whatever. After the game, John Harbaugh said something about like the numbers are the numbers, but sometimes you just got to go with your gut. That's what he did. But here's what I'll say about that play. First off, John Harbaugh is a player's coach. He asks his players a lot if they want to go for it. He does it all the time with Lamar, and there was a clip that circulated of him doing it in this game. He called that timeout after trying to get them to jump off sides. And it seemed like, okay, maybe they would just kick the extra point after that. They wanted to see if they get, closer. They couldn't get it. They'll take the extra point, go to overtime. Nope. They came out and went for it. He asked his players, do you want to go for it? They said yes. So he did. And I like the call. A lot of people online are hating on John Harbaugh for the call. I like the call because plain and simple, I mean, there's 42 seconds left, right? I'm going to pull it up to make sure it's the exact right time. Yeah, there's 42 seconds left, assuming, whatever happens. So if you get the 2-1 conversion, Aaron Rodgers in this offense has 42 seconds left to try and get in field goal range. They had one timeout as well. So you probably got at most like 6 or 7 plays if you're quick, if you can get out of bounds. If you can't, that limits the plays even more. If you get like a sack or something, like one crazy play like that, and this could be over. So I like the play call from that aspect. For if you get it, I think you should win. The chance is pretty low, but a lot of people love to bring up like, well, Aaron Rodgers and the Hail Marys and all this kind of stuff. Okay, if you're betting on Aaron Rodgers winning with a Hail Mary, like it's actually probably pretty low. I know he's had a few, but it's not like this is like a 25% chance that they catch it. I don't know the exact numbers on how many Hail Marys Aaron Rodgers has thrown, but I'm pretty sure there's like 2 or 3 that he's completed that are like the ones that everybody thinks about. So if you're betting on that, that's dumb. And a lot of the people that I've heard that are hating on John Harbaugh for this call are hating on him because they say, if you hypothetically get it, then Aaron Rodgers will drive down the field with 42 seconds left, and he'll probably get down and score. And if he doesn't, then, obviously you win the game, but most likely if you get it, then he's going to. And I don't understand the argument there, because if you truly believe that Aaron Rodgers and that offense is going to torch your defense with 42 seconds left and drive down and get this field goal, then why do you think that you could stop them in overtime? Because obviously in overtime, it's a coin flip. If they get the ball first and you believe that this offense with the Packers is so good in this game that there is no chance you can stop them with 42 seconds left, then you should also believe if they get the ball first, it's game over. So in my mind, what John Harbaugh is thinking is, if we make this extra point or we go for 2, no matter what, the Packers are getting the ball back, right? So you have to stop him before you go to a potential overtime. So that's one time you have to stop him. And now if he gets the ball first, you have to stop him a second time. Well, if you go for 2 and you get it, you only have to stop him once. So to me, the math works out. Like, would we rather try to stop Aaron Rodgers once with 42 seconds left and one timeout, or would we rather try to stop this offense twice, one of which is the same scenario, and the other one is as many plays as they want in overtime? I like the play call. I think their defense was not able to stop the Packers at all this entire game, and so give them potentially the advantage of a limited clock and one timeout. That was a long-winded answer, a long explanation. I've been very frustrated at all the people who I've heard trashing Harbaugh for this call. But at the end of the day, you have a backup quarterback, backup tackles, backup starting corners, backup starting safety, like backups across the board, and you manage to keep this game close the entire way. Try to end it with one play instead of potentially giving, honestly, the better, more talented, healthier team the ball in overtime first. And even if you get the ball in overtime first, who knows if you're going to score? Once again, backup tackles, backup quarterback, your receivers aren't that great. You're on your like 4th string running back at this point.
And to be honest,
I like the play call.
When they scored at the end, I think the 2 touchdowns in the 4th quarter, like, Packers were in prevent mode. They weren't playing their base defenses anyway. They were just trying to play time. But yeah, the point you made was pretty much spot on.
Also, just real quick, the play, to me, the play worked. Hollywood Brown was wide open in the back of the end
but
zone.
the play was
for Mark Andrews. But if Lamar, if Lamar is there, I think Lamar can make the read and probably throw to Hollywood. The throw was a bad throw. He was.
They were all over him anyway.
They were. Who was it? Savage, Darnell Savage, who ran over there.
Savage got a deflection, but Stokes was also right there.
Stokes was on him. The throw was behind him. Savage instantly sprinted over there because Huntley looked that way immediately. So, the Packers played great defense there. But that being said, once again, If anyone wants to say, "Oh, it's a terrible play call," they only gave him one option. Look, Hollywood Brown was open in the back of the end zone. They just didn't throw it to him.
The only thing I don't like about the play call, like I mentioned with you, was they did this thing where they cut the field in half. I know it's to buy a little bit more time, but once again, you cut the field in half. Defense only has to play half the field, especially with only. I mean, I know Hollywood Brown was coming kind of a little late across from the other side of the field, but in theory, you only got one guy on that side. So, I mean, as a DB, I know, it's probably going to him or he's running. But yeah, I think the point you especially mentioned after the first quarter, Packers offense found its rhythm and they they couldn't really be stopped by the Ravens. So yeah, I'm right with you. I like this 2 point conversion call more than the other one last week. Because yeah, it's just might as well see if you can get it, and then also just to add on to your point, just put a little pressure on the Packers as opposed to if it's a tie game, maybe a little less pressure. Okay, if we don't get in the field goal range, we'll go to overtime, we'll beat them. As opposed to this, where it's like, oh crap, like we have to get a field goal. Maybe Rodgers says something stupid, or yeah. So yeah, the point you made is perfectly valid, and I think is the right point that it was a good decision. So but yeah, it was a good game. Even though I was happy to see someone other than Devontae Adams kind of be involved in the pass game. Michael Marquez Valdez-Scantling, so hopefully he can build off that. Really, the game should have been put away earlier when Rodgers. I think when we saw for that last field goal, Rodgers just missed Lazard in the back right of the end zone, overthrew him a little bit. That would have completely iced the game. So, but otherwise, I mean, I don't have much other analysis other than hopefully we're a little bit better against stopping quarterbacks from just scrambling. I'm not once again. I'm not sure if the game plan changed when they saw it was Tyler Huntley, or if this. I hope this wasn't the game plan coming out with Lamar, because Lamar was here. There was a lot of lanes for, as we saw with the last touchdown by Huntley, and just throughout the game, Huntley had a lot of opportunities to just tuck it and run, and there wasn't like a spy or anything, anyone of the sort. Contain wasn't that great either at times for Tyler Huntley as well. So hopefully it's not a recurring issue. Hopefully it was just like a one-time thing. The defense just kind of underestimated Tyler Huntley and obviously learned their lesson. So, but going for the Packers, like we mentioned before, my Packers now grab the 1 seed. So hopefully we can hang on to that going forward. But one of the reasons they were able to do that was because of the Sunday night game. New Orleans Saints beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 9-0. What were your thoughts here, John?
I mean, the Saints, they have the Buccaneers number, especially in the regular season. I mean, they beat them in the playoffs last year. The Buccaneers beat the Saints last year. But so far since Tom Brady has become a Tampa Bay Buccaneer, they are 0-4 against the Saints in the regular season. That's with Drew Brees, that's with Jameis, and then Simeon, and now Taysom. That's with everybody. So, and it to me it just comes down to the Saints defense. I think out of everybody, it's one of those divisional games. Like they know each other, but you got to give them props because I think they truly know what Tampa wants to do offensively. It does suck for Tampa. They lost Leonard Fournette, Mike Evans, and Chris Godwin during the game. I know Chris Godwin is out for the rest of the year, and that really sucks. But still, I mean, defensively, the Saints came out. They balled out. Got to give a lot of credit to the coordinators over there. This is without Sean Payton too. So
Yeah.
you got their offensive coordinators now calling the plays. Typically Sean Payton does. And I know they only put up 9 points, but just in the scenario they're in, both their starting tackles are out, sort of like the Ravens. They're on their third quarterback this year. Don't have any great receivers. Like a lot of reasons that they could have been pretty bad offensively in this game, and they just did what they needed to do. So you want to talk about winning ugly? That is winning ugly. Shout out to the Saints defense. They were huge in this game, and I mean they kept their chance in the playoffs alive, and they really shook up the potential shot that Tampa had at a home field advantage.
Yeah. I think a big reason too is Saints. They're built kind of to beat the Bucks. Like we mentioned, the Bucks have a good overpowering offensive line, run game. Well, the Saints, I think statistically, they're still if not the best, one of the best run defenses, and that's because they can pretty much stop you with their front four for most of the run game, and then do creative stuff with Lattimore, who's had a good season. We all know he can match with Mike Evans, and some of the other secondary. They have, they still have talented guys. Marcus Williams, right? I always forget
Yeah,
his name.
safety.
And then, they still have Malcolm Jenkins, who they, like to utilize. And then Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, they move around. And I think, is that the rookie Adebo? What play? I forget.
Paulson Adebo,
Yeah, I forget.
corner.
Yeah, I know he's had a solid season, but I'm not sure if he
I
played.
think
But
he played.
nonetheless, even if he doesn't, he's still a solid piece that they're utilizing. Demario Davis is very underrated as a linebacker, and he's been doing really well there. And then, yeah, I mean, based on offense, also like their offensive line, very good offensive line. They can kind of handle the Bucks pass rush, and the guys in the middle and Vita Vea and Sue. Granted, they weren't able to take advantage of the secondary that much, but they just played the possession game. And two, also go back to defense, they can get pressure on Brady. We saw it this game, and on top of the fact that the Bucks, it seems like last year they were very I don't want not taking anything away from them, but a little bit fortunate with the injuries. Didn't really got healthy at the right time. This year, it seems to be the opposite. It seems like, man, they're starting to lose a lot of guys at the wrong time. Godwin's a very tough loss. We'll see if Antonio Brown can cover that loss. Um, and then we'll see how Leonard Fournette is, because although Fournette is supposed to be back for the playoffs, we'll see. And Ronald Jones has been kind of doghouse all year and doesn't seem to have the same, at least, mojo going into this back end of the season. So we'll see. And also, last point, once all those went away, I don't mean it. It's why Tom Brady isn't. I think I forget. Was he? He wasn't in my top five, right? He wasn't in your top five either, right? When we did our
I
rankings.
think it wasn't in either of our top fives. I
Okay.
think
Well,
we both had him at 6.
anyways, that's why he's not a top five guy, because he's just like still a really good thrower of the ball, but when things break down, he's 44 years old. He's not going to make many plays on his own at this point. He's still, going to get you in the right play, can make the right throws, can make the right reads, do all that still at a high level. But that's just not who he is at this point. And especially, he's still susceptible to pressure once you start getting to him. I mean, you can watch that game. He was looking down at the pass rush a little more often, trying moving around when he didn't have to move around just because they got in his, it just no one no one would want to get tackled by Cameron Jordan at 44 years old. That's just a statement of the fact. No one enjoys that. That hurts. So great win for the Saints. I'm very happy as a Packer fan, but yeah, just wild that they shut out the Bucks completely. So we'll see if the Bucks can bounce back. Go ahead.
Both of us had him at number 6, but we also had Deshaun Watson in our top fives, and he's not playing right now. So, like, technically on the year, if you take out Watson, he would be 5th for both
Coming
of us.
into the year.
Yeah.
Say mine would change even without Watson right now. Just saying. Anyways,
I mean, yeah, I would think both of us would change. I had Ryan Tannehill in there. I left out Herbert, Kyler. I think both of our lists would change.
anyways, so now we go to the Monday games. We still have more games, in case you didn't know, because some games got moved due to COVID. First one was the Raiders and Browns, supposed to be on Saturday, moved to Monday. Kind of didn't matter. I think Browns only got like one player back off COVID, and
Yeah.
it was Tack McKinley, and then he tore his Achilles, so which really sucks for Tack and the gang and him. So hopefully he gets healthy and such. But nonetheless, Raiders, they were a little bit closer than we all thought, but they beat the Browns 16-14. What were your thoughts, if any, on this one, John?
Not impressive game from the Raiders. I mean, the Browns are missing like their whole team. They're using Nick Mullins, who he's won games in the past, but I don't even think Stefanski was there. Like, they had nobody, essentially. They had Nick Chubb, Donovan Peoples-Jones. That was kind of it. Myles Garrett played, but most everybody
But
else
then he
was
got
out.
injured like midway through the
Yeah.
game, so he obviously wasn't 100%.
Yeah, so I mean, a win's a win for the Raiders, but not impressive one, because you win 16-14. It took late game heroics from Derek Carr. So that's really all I got.
Yeah. Just to add on, sorry, we kind of saw not a lot of playmakers on Oakland, especially once they don't have no Darren Waller. I know Henry Ruggs has been solid, but we see he's just more of a slot guy. He also fumbled twice. I know they got both of his back, but still. And then, unfortunately for Josh Jacobs, a guy who is high on, just also doesn't help that their line is still an issue. It's and then on the flip side, it was really just Nick Mullins, like I was worried about. He didn't do too many. He had 20 completions for 140 yards, so obviously they were kind of managing him. He was kind of trying to just not mess up the game, and give him credit. I mean, they were winning. He led them on drives to get ahead. Just the Raiders made their own drive, kicked a field goal to win it. So, yeah, not much great analysis there. Both these teams now go to 7-7. But to be honest, as much as I like Cleveland, don't really want to see them in the playoffs at this point. Nothing excites me, but they probably somehow will. So that is that on that one. Now going to the other Monday night game, which also was a little bit of a stinker. Minnesota Vikings, they beat the Chicago Bears 17-9. What were your thoughts on this one, John?
Uh, not a lot of good games on Monday. Two ones. Yeah, I mean, Vikings. Kirk Cousins had 87 passing yards. He had 12 completions doing that, but it was like all just really short check down kind of stuff. Dalvin Cook had an all right game. Justin Jefferson had an all right game, but their defense is really the story of the game. Had a really good performance, but I feel bad for Justin Fields because if the guy couldn't run, like they would have no offense. Honestly, like it's him and David Montgomery's run game that's really kept anything alive for them, and they don't really have any offense, to begin with. So their offensive line's not great. Their coaching's okay. Like there's just Chicago's just they need to go full rebuild. Honestly,
Don't mean to hate on the man or his family. But yeah, it's just time to move on from Matt Nagy. Get some new ideas because we see Cole Kmet still had a solid game, 671. We see we've seen Khalil Herbert have moments, David Montgomery have moments. Obviously, Justin Fields talented. I think we all see that. They've been able to get Jakeem Grant into some favorable spots, plays where he can show off some of his talent. Yes, and they don't even have Tariq Cohen this year, so he'll be back hopefully next year and back to where he was. So we'll see, but yeah, for Chicago, just terribleness on offense, and then for the Vikings, they came in. They were just, especially the fact that Chicago had some early turnovers, a brutal one for Justin Fields, kind of midfield, got stripped, kind of unlucky. I really don't put that all on him, but Minnesota just played not to lose once they got the lead. That's all really they had to do, and against this very poor offense, like we've mentioned, in terms of just scheme. So go in for the Vikings, 7-7. Still in the mix, and then Chicago. I hope for y'all's sake you get rid of Matt Nagy, but as a Packer fan, don't mind him staying around. Now we go to the Tuesday games. We got those because both these games were delayed due to COVID. First one, the LA Rams beat the Seattle Seahawks 20-10. I guess there was controversy in this game. I didn't watch this game live, so I missed it. I was watching the other game. I thought this game was be a little more boring. Nonetheless, though, John, what are your thoughts on this game? And I guess if you know the call, if you feel it's important, if you could explain that to me.
we're talking Seattle, right?
Sorry, Seattle Rams.
Yeah.
Did I say the wrong team?
No. I was just
Okay.
I was kind of zoned out because I was looking at the score of the other game. Anyway, so the call at the end of the game, there was basically just a pass interference that was almost the exact same as the one that got called in the Cowboys-Raiders game at the end, where the ball was underthrown, so the receiver had to turn back into the defender. It was basically the same thing, but it was more egregious because in that game, Anthony Brown threw his hands up and was just kind of in the way. In this one, the Rams defender took his arm and slammed it down on DJ Dallas's arms like a second before the ball even got there. So it was like really bad. Didn't get called. I don't know if it would have changed the game. This was them driving. It was 20-10. This was them. I think they were already down. I believe by 10. No, okay, never mind. They were down by 7, and this was them attempting to drive to tie the game late. It was a 4th down call too, so that was the tough part. Was they went for it on 4th. It would have been a first down if he caught it. Would have been a first down, obviously, with the pass interference being called. So that was why it was pretty controversial. Who knows if they drive down and score? I mean, they only put up 10 points on this game. But I watched the entire game because in one of my fantasy leagues, I missed the playoffs by 7 points. It came down a point differential between me and this other guy. And I needed DK Metcalf to score me 19. He got me, or 18. He got me like 11. So I was watching the game pretty intently, and it just DK was getting the DeAndre Hopkins treatment from last year, which is his routes really just suck. Like not his
Just
route running, his the play calls. Like he just runs straight, basically. I saw a picture of his route tree next to Cooper Cup's. Cooper Cup had an amazing game, another monster performance. Just doing what Cooper Cup does. And I saw his route tree next to Cooper Cup's in this game. Cooper's got curl routes, out routes, in routes, streaks, posts, stuff out of the backfield. He's got everything.
and they move him
And
around. He's not in the same
yeah,
spot.
it was stuff on both sides, stuff over the middle. Like I said, stuff out of the backfield. There were lines all over the field. So they're moving around their best playmaker. And in a game in which the Seahawks don't have Tyler Lockett, you'd think that DK would try to use him more creatively potentially to really get stuff going. And the drawing of all his routes, it was basically just on the left side streaks, on the right side streaks, like one post route in there, one out route in there, but that was kind of it. So I don't know. I know a lot of people are now, because Seattle is now officially going to have their season since Russell Wilson became the starter. People are already starting to talk about what's going to happen this offseason. Will Russ be traded? He's got 2 years left on his deal. Can you build a winning team in those 2 years? You got Jamal Adams, so now you don't have a first round pick this year. Bobby Wagner's getting old. People are already starting to talk about that conversation. I don't know what we'll see. I mean, I think they have some solid pieces, but I just they're not very good at drafting. And so I don't know if I believe that they could really hit on late round picks to build a contender over the next 2 years. And maybe Russell wants to leave. So I don't know. We'll see. That's a conversation for later, but bad game for Seattle.
Yeah, and I'm just saying, if I were Russell, I would leave. And this is just, we mentioned before, Seattle's offense is not creative, and that route tree proves it. Just, you see the Rams, they find a million different ways to give Cooper Kupp the ball, get him open, not just get him the ball. See, I think Seattle's mentality is, just Russell fit the ball in there somehow, some way. That's not always going to be the case.
Especially with that injured finger. Like DK got open some of these plays, but the injured finger, he just couldn't make the throw.
So honestly, if I'm a Seattle fan, I'm hoping, as much as I love Russell Wilson, unless they get new coaching staff, which I know Pete Carroll's a good guy, good coach, just a little too old school, and they just need to get a new offensive coordinator probably. I think the defense is fine, but like you mentioned, strapped for talent. Because you traded for Jamal Adams, they tried to do the Rams thing where they kept pushing all the chips in the middle of the table, or kept going all in. Well, you need to also, for the picks you do have, or just development otherwise, you need to make sure you have guys that fill in, those picks you're losing. Rams have done a pretty good job of that. They've had Darrell Williams, the other corner outside. Like, he's been solid. I forget his name.
Darius Williams.
Darius, I'm sorry. My apologies, Darius Williams, if you somehow see this. He's been solid. They find pieces and guys to make it work. And then on the flip side, or even free agents, they still have Leonard Floyd was a pretty solid grab. And I think Ashawn Robinson's been okay there. Solid depth guys. Well, Seattle is so strapped for cash, or they can't do that. So, yeah, going for the Rams.
Also, and this is no slight to Jamal Adams, but I just feel like, I don't know I can't remember the exact price they paid for Jalen Ramsey and Matthew Stafford. I think it was basically similar, if not cheaper, than Jamal Adams, specifically Jalen Ramsey.
It was different because I think the Seahawks also threw in a safety, is like Bradley McDougald, and like a third, and then which it was still two firsts at the end of the day.
It was two firsts. I can't remember if Jalen Ramsey was two firsts. He might have been.
Jalen was two firsts.
Anyway, regardless, I mean the Rams, I feel like they got like two crazy impact players. Jamal Adams is still an impact player, but when your defense, you don't really have great corners, you don't have a deep safety. Like, what is a box safety like Jamal Adams? Like, how much impact can he have when the rest of your secondary is going to get torched? So it feels like the Rams, they were a little bit smarter when they went and got the trade, because I think Jamal Adams is an amazing player, but like if you can't support his play style, and you don't have other options, what is he going to do?
Yeah, I don't know. So Seattle's got a lot of reflecting to do. We'll see what happens over the next coming weeks. I think because it's also that new rule where you can start talking to coaches, right? I forgot that there's some new rule they implemented this year. I've read about, but I forgot. Nonetheless, good for the Rams. I don't know what's going on in Seattle. Hopefully things change for them. Now going to the last game on Tuesday of the week in John's division. Philadelphia Eagles, they beat the Washington football team 27-17. Washington football team, another team that's dealing with a lot of COVID stuff, ended up having to trot out Garrett Gilbert, former Cowboy, also not apparently, he is a Super Bowl champion, ironically enough. Nonetheless, obviously, third string guy. What were your thoughts on this one, John?
Didn't watch this one because I was watching the Seattle Rams game, so I haven't seen any of it, to be honest. But just, I mean, we made a post yesterday about the amount of players that Washington had on the COVID list and coaches. Like 8 coaches, 8 defensive players, 6 offensive players, like just guys like crazy. So this is honestly what I expected, just because of how many players and coaches they were missing. And then on the other side, we know that Philly, they don't play a offensive style that's going to lend to turnovers. They play conservative, which means they're not going to lose the turnover battle, which bodes well in sort of a game like this, in which you're playing a team that just doesn't have all the talent.
Yeah. I will say, though, and this I need to watch, Philly put themselves behind the 8 ball early. Jalen Hurts had a fumble and also threw a pick, but they were able to bounce back. I mean, obviously, they're the more talented team coming in. I think we could all feel. Poor Miles Sanders, man. 18 carries, 131 yards, no touchdowns. I believe he has 0 touchdowns on the year. I just feel for him, especially because I imagine people are in his fantasy DMs upset at him, and it's not really his fault. And Jalen Hurts had two rushing touchdowns. But I forgot where I was going with it. But regardless, I mean, yeah, like I said, Philly, which also, though, I think Philly has 2 first-round picks. Just saying, if things don't work out, you can upgrade.
One of which I think is 6.
Yeah, they're up there. So you could upgrade. Just saying, maybe Seattle wants Jalen Hurts.
I think they have 3 first round picks. I think they have 3. They
have Miami's. They have theirs. Where is the third one coming from? I'm forgetting.
I'm gonna Google it. I'm pretty sure they have 3.
I wouldn't be shocked. But yeah, for Washington, I mean, like John mentioned, a lot of guys out. Garrett Gilbert's out there. They had a good first drive. They got a touchdown, but then from there, it was really tough sledding for them. And it's just a team that I think we're starting to see.
Colts, Carson Wentz trade.
Oh, yes. And because he's played enough snaps now, he had first. Yeah. So, just saying. They got who are they paying out there? No one really. I mean, give Russell a solid offensive line for the first time ever.
Okay. You don't got to trade for Russell.
I'm just saying. We were just talking.
I don't need him. I don't need him in the division.
You could also go to the Giants. Giants have 2 first-round picks. They could be very high.
No, they don't need to trade for quarterbacks. They could just.
I'm just saying. Draft. They got a lot of receivers and they got Saquon. It could be. Anyways. But in regards to Philly, they have a good formula, like we mentioned. Good D line, good offensive line. Darius Slay's kind of having. I know this is a Washington football team, and we already just dogged on their offense. But Darius Slay having a really good year, kind of a bounce back. So it looked like he was starting to hit that twilight of his career. But maybe he's got a little more left in the tank. But other than that, nothing else to really add. I mean, not shocking that this is the result that happened. I will say, I know it's only his first year. John Davis, really just still unimpressive to me. I know I said that. I hope he changes my mind. I don't mean to hate on the guy, but as soon as he was picked, I remember I was like, this. I still a pick I questioned then, and I'm even questioning it more now. But like I said, a lot of guys are missing. So
it's tough too for him though that Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, who a lot of people thought should go above him, has outperformed him, even though he's missed some games, and then Micah Parsons in the division, similar position, linebackers.
Micah Parsons is he's just stud. That's just generational. That's nothing you can do about that. But yeah, I know what you mean. It's
tough though. Like the guys you're going to be.
And then Zaven Collins is having pretty solid time.
Right, yeah.
And so, it's just. I mean, there are going to be hits and misses, especially in the first round. But going for Philly, and I've got good to see Jalen Hurts healthy too, because then I was worried about the ankle. Like, is he still going to be the same as effective wise? Showed this game he can win with his arm. Dallas Goedert had a really good game too. But Jalen Hurts, besides the pick, 20 for 26, efficient, throwing down the field. So we'll see how that fares for them. But that is